Welcome to 10 Minute Treasure. My name is Jeff Pospisil, and this is going to be a completely different video than normal because over the last month or maybe month and a half, I've been putting in a basketball court in the backyard for my son. And I didn't want to pay to have somebody bring in their equipment or me to rent the equipment to go ahead and do a traditional pour of concrete. So I've been doing dry pour. And I saw it online. I don't even remember how I saw it, but this Cajun Country Living, I'm going to link to it in the description. They were very helpful in knowing how to do it. And I'm just going to share my experience with that. And of course, I'm an accountant, so it starts off with a spreadsheet. All right, so the big challenge for an accountant was how many bags of concrete do you need to buy? So the lumber to buy the frames, that was pretty minimal. I just bought 2x4s. But how many bags of concrete do you need to buy? So my basketball court, it was going to be 15 feet by 19 feet and approximately 4 inches thick. And I was going to split that up into 6 sections so that I could do one section at a time. So 6 different sections. Let me go ahead and show you now. So here's the dimensions. So I'm just going to show the dimensions for each one. By the way, this little thing, breaking it up into feet and inches, that was a little bit more, that was probably the most challenging part of this spreadsheet. So the length was 7 feet and 4 inches, the width, 5 feet and 8 inches for each section. And the depth, you think a 2x4, 4 inches. Well, that's actually not accurate totally. It was 3.5 inches. And to tell you the truth, I don't think, I probably got a little lazy on digging it out. So probably I should have used 3.25. But I didn't. That probably would have been more accurate. Instead, I used 3.5. So you could use 80-pound bags. I sell those, but I used the 60-pound bag. My price per bag, I just got them from Menards, $4.49. I went ahead and added sales tax in there. I might as well be exact. I didn't include the rebate because that takes so long to get. Menards always gives a rebate. Anyway, so then that gives you about 27 per section. And again, I had 6 sections. So again, I wasn't always as careful. I want to say my sections were closer to 3.25 deep. But anyway, that shows you if I wanted to do all 6 sections, how much it would cost. And I was pretty close. So this ended up being pretty accurate for me preparing for this. All right, so I'm going to put a link to that spreadsheet in the description. I don't know if you're going to need it. Probably not. But either way, it's kind of cool. So let me go ahead and show you the project. And I didn't take video of it, so I just took a picture whenever I made a significant progress. So first of all, I guess this is first significant progress was deciding how big to make it. My wife and I, we had a disagreement on it. My son also had his ideas, but basically we ended up making it as big as we could for the space. So we have a garage right here that we had to factor in. We have our fence here. We have a back deck right here. And then we have this tree. We'd already received this from my sister-in-law, this basketball hoop. So that was free. But everything else, you know, it was going to be a lot of sweat equity to put into it. So first mistake, by the way, I set out these boards to kind of frame it instead of relying on these cones so I could get a straight edge. Mistake, because one of the boards had absorbed some of the moisture from the ground and started warping. And so luckily I'd bought 5 boards, and that 5th one I was just going to use to screed. So it made it a little bit more challenging to get the concrete flat. But each evening I would go out and I would remove topsoil, remove some sod, and shovel it over there, over to this area, and you can see this pile growing. I still don't know, by the way, at the time I'm recording this, I still don't know what I'm going to do with all that topsoil. That maybe I'm going to spread it out here, and I don't know, Christmas presents, I guess. But each evening you can see I just slowly plugging away, and then eventually I get it done, and then I use my 2x4s for what they were made for, to frame it out. So this is that 5 foot 8 inches by 7 foot 4 inches. And I laid it down, and then I leveled it as well as I could. You know, that's where I tried to level it. So it's perfectly flat here, and then a slight decline. So that way it pulls the water away from the house. So it's a slight decline towards the basketball hoop and away from the house, but then this is pretty flat. And then I after I made sure the frame was flat, then I tried to dig it out again to make sure that this is as flat as I could. And then I put down 2 bags of sand, the 50-pound bags of sand, to help make sure it was extra flat. One of the things I learned is too, you should pack around the sides of that, so that way water and when you wet it down, you don't want stuff flowing out from here. Then I filled it halfway full of, so for me, I put in 12 bags because I didn't know for sure how accurate it was. I all of a sudden realized that I might not be doing it deep enough. So I put in 12 bags of concrete here. I just loaded them right in there, flattened it out with a gardening rake. And then I put in my little rebar fence stuff. It's not real rebar. It's just this kind of, looks like fence panels. Anyway, that fit pretty well in there. And then I would go ahead and top it off. And then if you look at this Cajun Country Living or some of these other ones, then what you do is you mist it for right after you get it laid out. You also have to use a paint roller to make sure it's really flat before you mist it, by the way. And then you mist it on the first hour. You mist it again on the second hour, and then you soak it for the next for me 6 hours. So I soaked it again once an hour for the next 6 hours on the shower one. And again, look at their video. I'm going to link that in the description, and it'll really help you. So the second section is the one that I probably had the most difficulties with. And I tried to rush it, really. I mean, I was trying to do the work late in the evening or early in the morning so it wouldn't interfere with work. And I know I don't have the grade quite right. I mean, it's a little too steep. I didn't notice that until later. It really doesn't affect your play. We've played on it, and you really don't notice it. But I noticed it. So, and then the other mistake I made is when I did that very first misting, I had a meeting that I was bumping up against. So I misted it. And then I went to my meeting, and about an hour and a half later, I came back. Well, I don't think I soaked it enough, and then the meeting went long, so I got a crust on it, and that's caused some scaling. So you're going to see some scaling right around here in the video that I do of the final project. So that was kind of disappointing. And then I decided I'd switch sides because this section here was a little bit more difficult. I had to build the form around an existing sidewalk. And what you're going to notice too is after I pull the form out, you see the form right there, what I do is I pack it around with dirt, some of my extra dirt. I still got a whole lot of extra dirt, but that's what I would end up doing. And then that's the fourth section. Fifth section, again, a little bit tricky because I'm starting to run into I have some rocks around the base of my house. And so I was starting to run against the end there, and you still want to make sure that incline is enough to pull that water away from the house. And I guess it's going to be funneled down into this area here. And that's the final section. So that's where I finally had it. And I had another issue here too, where the expansion foam kind of popped up on me. But I'm seeing that already that it's starting to wear down, so I'm not too concerned. And even when we end up shoveling it during winter, we're just going to scrape that foam expansion stuff out. All right, so here we are. We're done, and it turned out pretty good. We already played our first game of basketball on it. A couple things I wish I would have done a little better was there's this expansion stuff in between here. You can see where my foot is, and it sticks up a little bit. I think it'll wear down and it'll be fine. And then these first two sections, I already have some scaling going on in them, and I think it's because I rushed it. So I had a meeting and I watered it down, and then I think I let it get dried out. So that was an issue in and of itself. So then there are a couple of places that scale, and I guess I'll learn how to patch, but that'll come up. And then I have all this dirt that I need to move. I don't know if you can see how tall that is, but it's about 2 to 3 feet tall. So I got to figure out what I want to do with the dirt. And like I said earlier in the spreadsheet, I should have put in, when I calculated the first time, I should have put in
3.5 instead of 4 inches, because I ended up with, that looks like 18 extra bags of concrete. So I did find a new home for that, but I feel pretty good all in all. I mean, we've already enjoyed it, and yeah, I feel pretty happy considering it cost me what, $800, $900. So
All right, that brings us to the end. So, like I said, I'm going to put a couple links in the description. One to that spreadsheet. I don't know. It's a cool spreadsheet, I think. And then the other one to that Cajun Country Living, and they will show you exactly how to do it. And I followed it. The only thing that I did that was different from them is I soaked the ground before I put the first layer of concrete in. So I soaked it. We're a little drier here, and I think that seemed to help. So, and the last thing, I just want to share this with you. Most of the time, when you work with concrete and it's wet, you want to work as fast as possible. You still want to do a good job, but you want to work as fast as possible before it starts drying out. It's the opposite with dry pour. You want to make sure you have enough time. Take your time. Make sure you have enough time to water it and attend to that. So it's instead of hurry, 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 it's slow down. Take your time. Do it well. All right. Till next time. God bless.